My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, you know what we're talking about, Anchorage. We want to know what's going on in the residential market, the condo market, and the multifamily market. This continues to be a market that has and probably will for the foreseeable future have one of the biggest impacts for the entire state. And so for that reason, we want to keep a pretty close eye on it. Before we get started though, give this video a like, subscribe. I'm going to clue you guys in on something. A lot of you watch this content and you don't actually subscribe, and it helps with the algorithm if you do. So if you get any value from this content, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a ton. Now, let's go and jump into today's market update, looking first at what's going on in the residential market. First thing that I want to look at is what's going on in the residential market as far as the inventory. So we see that this time last year, there was about 418 properties available on the market. Now it's 330. Now, this sounds like a significant drop from the year before, and it is, but it is actually even more significant when we look at the fact that around this time of year, usually we'd expect to see around 900 to just over 1,000 properties for sale for all the different price ranges in Anchorage. So it sounds like there's a drop, and there is, but it's even more dramatic once you kind of pan out a little bit and you see that we're really at about a quarter or a third of what we usually have for inventory this time of year. Now, the next thing we see is that the number of properties that have actually sold went from about 335 this time last year to about 218 this year, which not a big surprise. We'll talk more about this in the summary, but we're seeing a pretty consistent trend across the year where there are less properties being sold this year than what we've seen in previous years. Last but not least, we see the average sold price went from about $457 this time last year to about $481,000 this year. So we are seeing a little increase from what we've seen this time last year to date, because we see that this time last year, we're actually seeing about a 4.5% increase for the average sold price, which is down a little bit because this time last year we were seeing about a 7.4% increase. So the rate at which things are increasing is doing about what we projected, that it was going to continue going up, but the rate at which it was going to continue going up started to pull back just a little bit. Just to be clear, that's not a sign that the market's about to tank. That's just a sign that it's not going up quite as quick as what it did before, because that was pretty intense there for a little bit. In some places like the Mat-Su Valley, you actually saw double-digit year-over-year increases. I think it was like 11 or 12% year-over-year, year-to-date for the increases for the average sold price, which is pretty tough to keep up with. But yeah, in Anchorage, didn't go up quite as quickly, but you can obviously see that's still a pretty sizable increase. Because let me give you an example from this time of year in 2019. Average sold price was $375,000. Now it's $481,000. So you see there's about a $100,000 uptick in the average sold price for properties in Anchorage. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears real quick and take a look at what's going on in the condo market. So first thing, looking at the condo market, we see that this time last year, there was 110 condos available on the market. Now it's 85. So again, that is a cut from the year before. Let's take a look in previous years though and get an idea of by how much. Because usually this time of year, we're going to see probably around like 450, 500 condos available on the market, and now we're down to 85. So you see we're down to about 20% of what we usually have available in the condo market. We'll talk more about why that is in the summary, but for now, just know that the condos inventory is drastically lower than what it usuly is. Next thing we see is the number of condos that actually sold went from 119 this time last year for the month of August, the month that we have the most completed data currently, to 72 for the month of August this year. And that's pretty much keeping up with the trend for the entire year as well for the condo market, that we're seeing less properties selling compared to what we saw the year before. Now, what we see for the average sold price for condos is it went from about $242,000 this time of year to date this year to about $270,000 this year. That's right, we're seeing about a 10.8% increase for the average sold price for condos across the board in Anchorage. And this also kind of keeps up with predictions and theories we had before, that as more and more people are kind of trying to look for some cheaper options, they're going to go to condos. right as there's not a whole lot of condos available, which that's going to increase the average sold price for condos at a faster rate. And we see this in the average sold price percentage changes year over year, because the increase in 2020 was about approximately 2.7. 2021 it went to 6.3. 2022 about 5.6. We're like, okay, we were starting to chill out a little bit. And then 2023, this year to date, 10.8% increase in the average sold price. So we're kind of seeing that playing out here. And if you're looking for stuff in the condo market, you can probably vouch for the fact that it's pretty competitive at the moment. So we've got the multifamily market update, and then we've got the summary. But before we jump into that, though, I just wanted to take the opportunity to make sure you were all aware of the monthly meetup that we have for those of you who have recently moved to Alaska, or for those of you who are currently here and just looking to meet new people. This is a Facebook group, and the link for that is going to be in the description section down below. And in this Facebook meetup group, we'll go meet up, go do stuff around Alaska once a month, and usually pretty simple stuff like going for a hike, bonfire, things of that nature. So if you're just looking for an opportunity to plug into a social circle, this is going to be a great place to do it. So make sure you take advantage of that. Now let's go and talk about the multifamily market and the summary for what all this means for you at the moment. Now, looking at multifamily, this is the only asset class that we're really seeing on the residential side in Anchorage, where we're seeing more options available than what we saw the year before. So there was 77 multifamily properties available on the market this time last year, and now it's 91. So we're seeing a very, very small increase in the number of properties that are available for multifamily. It's a step in the right direction. Let's give you some historical perspective, though, because this time of year, usually we're sitting approximately like 200, 250. So yes, it is a step in the right direction. We're still pretty low inventory historically, though. Now, looking at the number of properties that have actually sold for the first time, really in any asset class, we're seeing that year over year, there is actually more properties that actually sold for the month of August than what we had the previous year. So there were 22 multifamily properties that sold at Anchorage this time last year, and now it's 28 this year. So we're seeing a slight uptick in the total number of properties being sold for multifamily in Anchorage, which is definitely a good sign if you are an investor. But really all the way up to this point of the year, it's been significantly lower. So I wouldn't get too excited about that. It's a step in the right direction, though. Last but not least, we see the average sold price for multifamily went from about $509,000 this time last year to $485,000 this year. That's right, we're seeing about a 4.75% decrease in the average sold price for multifamily properties. Now, before we get too excited, one thing to keep in mind is multifamily, the way it's pulled from the MLS does indicate all the different types of multifamily. So we could be talking about fourplexes, or we could be talking about duplexes. And it's really kind of hard to parse it out. I kind of have a theory that we have more people buying duplexes right at the moment because they're a little cheaper. And so that's going to bring the average sold price down. If you have a multifamily property, I would expect that average sold price actually has gone up. It just takes a little bit more parsing out of the data to figure that out. So what does all of this mean? Okay, so we'll start on the residential side and give you the breakdown if you're a buyer or a seller. If you're a seller, still a great market to be looking to put your property out there. The inventory is low. Only downside is now you have to be able to sell said property and go buy another one, usually at a higher interest rate. And that's the reason that most people right now are holding on to their properties, because most people were able to refinance or purchase a property a couple of years ago, and we've kind of gotten spoiled with those 3, 2 something, 4 something % interest rates, and now like upwards of 7%, 6, mid 6, 7% starts to sound pretty scary. So for that reason, a lot of people are kind of hanging on to their properties, and that's what's creating the shortage. If you are a buyer, it's going to seem a little scary right now, a little daunting. You're going to see lots of headlines and lots of news, people telling you the odds are against you, and really just having this really pathetic, nihilistic perspective of the world. I am not going to tell you to give up hope. I'm going to tell you there's some things we can do that's going to help you regain control, and we're going to have to really focus in on what it is that you want to accomplish here. If you're looking to jump into this market, it is very possible We just have to make sure that we are very precise in order to make sure that we actually hit our target. The days where we could just go in, lackadaisically meander our way through the process, those are pretty much gone. It's not as competitive as it was a couple of years ago, but there are other variables and other factors making it a little more challenging for buyers to get in right now. I will also say, once you're on the other side of everything and you actually own the property that you're wanting to own, congratulations, you're on the other side of it, and you're actually pretty happy that there's no real sign of the market crashing anytime soon. If you're an investor, starting to get some more options out there. I suspect really investors are trying to focus on purchasing these smaller multifamily properties and starting to kind of really fix them up. Right at the moment, I'm not really purchasing a whole lot of multifamilies myself. I'm more content with actually just updating the ones that I currently have than I am with acquiring new ones, but everyone's got a different investment strategy. So that's been your market update for what's going on in Anchorage. I hope it's been useful. Again, give this video a like, and we'll see you next time.